Welcome to CUNTY Life and Biz Realness, the uncensored show that explores how to live your truest life, what tries to get in the way, and how to grow your business as a result. I know you want to be more courageous, unapologetic, notable, transcendent, and authentically you, and you're in the right place, babe. I'm your host who's the most, Naomi, CEO and head life and biz authenticity coach at CUNTY Coaching. Let's dive in. Hi, beautiful. Today, it is just me, and I want to come on here and have a real heart-to-heart with you. It's not going to be polished. It's going to be a bit messy, but I want to share some realness with you, if that's okay. If not, then carry on with your day. But I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I missed a couple of weeks of releasing podcast episodes, and it's for good reason. I have been in a hole of depression and anxiety and stress because I had to release something that was no longer serving me. And that was the iteration of CUNTY Retreat that I had been creating before. So learning to release that and deciding to release that, I have to tell you, was one of the hardest things I've had to do in a very long time, because I had clients who had already signed on and were excited for what I was creating. So it was no longer just me that I was disappointing. Now it was also other people that I was going to be disappointing. And the feeling of failure was so great. And I'm going to talk more about everything that happened. And in a future episode, I will also share with you all the learnings that I will also have reflected on and gathered. But today, I really just want to talk about having faith, trust, and an abundance mindset, and also being vulnerable in our business in order to reach our highest potential and the greatest of what is available to us that we might not even see. So the first iteration that I had conjured up for CUNTY Retreat was very, very fancy and expensive. And because it came from the very best of intentions. Like, I wanted my clients to feel like $1 million on this retreat. And I chose to believe that I could make it work and that I could create this incredible experience. I did the math, I created the spreadsheet. I figured out how many spots I'd have to sell. I did the things. And there were a couple of key mistakes that I made, but I never would have known at that time. So this is one of the hardest parts that no one will ever understand except for you, is the fact that hindsight is always 20/20, right? After we've learned things, then we go back and say, oh, like, obviously, of course. But in the moment, we just do the best we can with the data that we have at that time. And so at that time, I had no idea what it would cost to open and run a business in Portugal. It is very expensive, and that's something I had to learn along the way, right? Like how to comply with tax laws and Social Security and all of these things, all these requirements of running a business that came up once I was operating, right? And taking payments and all of this and paying tax and all of this stuff. So that was one of the main mistakes that I made, was I didn't account for all of that in the original calculations, right? I calculated all the retreat related expenses, but I didn't factor in the just running a business factor. So that was one thing. And there's other things that, like I said, I will come back and reflect and share the learnings at a future time. I can also for sure run a masterclass on all of these learnings and mistakes, but I am trying my best to be humble in this process because it is my first time running a retreat. and I went out with a swing, right? Like a big swing, a very expansive luxury swing. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out. And so let me talk a little bit more about what I mean by that. So at a point at the beginning of April, I realized that the math wasn't mathing. I did not have the right amount in order to pay the rest of the venue and some of these big ticket items. And I also felt a disconnect with what I was creating. So not only was the math not mathing, but I also felt this feeling of something's not right here. Something's not right, right? And there were multiple things that weren't right, but I was getting this gut feeling, right? Of like, something's not right. So at first I tried everything to like salvage the situation. But at the end of the day, because there was that little feeling inside of me that felt that something wasn't right, my decision at that time was to call it off. I let my clients know that the version of CUNTY Retreat that I had sold was no longer happening, that the venue was no longer going to be that one, and that it was the retreat as it was canceled, and that I would be in touch as soon as possible with next steps and solutions and all of this. At that time, I had no idea exactly what was missing or what was wrong or what I needed to do differently, or like I did not know any of these things in that moment. All I knew was that I couldn't continue the way it was going. That's all I knew. And I knew that I was just digging myself a deeper and deeper hole. So I canceled it, and that was the hardest decision I have had to make in a very long time. Like, I felt my body physically shut down after that. I was so devastated and so enveloped in grief. That's the only way I could explain it. And my clients were stressed because they didn't know what was happening. And that was stressing me out, right? Because I don't want to be keeping them in the dark. I certainly wasn't doing it on purpose. But what I felt was I needed a little bit of time to figure out what the hell was wrong, and also to just process and sit for a minute and just allow these feelings to happen. Because if I tried to shove them down, all these feelings of guilt and shame and grief, all of these yucky feelings, this feeling of failure, all of this, if I had tried to shove it down and not pay attention and allow them to happen and just kind of soldier on and figure everything out as soon as possible, I would not be well right now. I would not be able to record this podcast episode and tell you what I'm about to all share with you. I would not be physically well. So even though it hurt like hell, and I wasn't very well, but it was a shorter period of time to allow those strong emotions to pass through me and to allow myself to release. That is so incredibly powerful. I can't even tell you, because I'm the type of person, I'm very persistent, and I hold on to things and I do my best and I work very hard for them. And that's also what got me in this situation, right? Is not learning to release it or rediscover it earlier on and being stubborn and just continuing to go ahead with it. But it got to this point where I was like, no, I can't keep doing that. I have to stop and I have to release this now. And that's because it was the deadline to pay for the rest of the venue. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. That was really like, okay, stop. Like, hold on here, stop. Something's not right. Let's figure this out. Or, like, let's just grieve and then figure it out. So this is what I told my clients. And of course, like, this is such a stressful situation, right? No one wants to be in this situation. As a business owner, it is so incredibly hard to be in this situation. And of course, the ideal would be to have all the answers ready for when you have to pivot or cancel and pivot. Whatever you're going to do, have the answers ready, right? But at that moment in time, I didn't have them, but I felt this strong desire, because I am such an honest, real person, I just decided to tell them that I didn't know what was going to happen. I had to cancel it, and I would be right back with next steps and solutions. Super hard. Super, 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 super hard. I can't even tell you how hard this was on me and how hard I'm still in it, y'all. I'm still in it. We're finding our way through. We're finding our feet. But that had to be done. And I'm sharing this all with you, not for my own gain, but really just to be real, because this is the CUNTY Realness podcast, real about failing and entrepreneurship and the lows, right? Because oftentimes we hear about the highs and the highlights and the successes. And also in the spiritual community, like there's a lot of feelings about when things don't work out. There's a lot of trying to make that mean something about us, or that we're not manifesting correctly, or whatever it is. And I think we need to just be honest that everybody fails and we're fucking human, okay? This is what I'm realizing, is that I'm not a spiritual guide to help you in the fifth dimension or whatever it's called. No, I am here to help you in the human realm, in the human dimension. That is very much my thing, is I'm going to help you, but it's very much in the human experience. There are amazing teachers and coaches out there that really, they thrive with dealing with the 5D. For me, I am helping you with your experience in the 3D, 4D, I don't even know, human. This realm that we're living in, and it's messy and it's not always pretty, and it's really, it's wild, right? And I mean, so is the 5D, but I don't know enough about the 5D. Anywho, so I've been just allowing myself, though, a bit of openness to follow my intuition, to follow my heart, to follow my honesty. And that is not really the go-to way of the business world right now. The business world right now is very masculine, very robotic, very stagnant, and there's not a lot of room for imperfection and for evolution and change. It's all kind of very concrete and static, right? And so what I mean by this is it's really hard to tell clients that you need to change something, because people will be very tied to what they initially paid for, right? And that's fair. I get it, right? But ultimately, what I'm trying to realize here is that as a coach, it is actually in the highest service of my clients, of me, of people who are watching me run my business. It is in the highest service, actually, that I continue to evolve. It is not in the highest service for me to stay stagnant and for me to say, okay, this is what I sold you, and so I'm going to do everything. I'm going to betray my own intuition and my own evolution in order to give you this exact experience. I don't think that is in highest service. And that's my opinion, right? Some people might have a different opinion, and that's okay. And I'm just sharing my messy experience here. So I decided that I wanted to allow myself to evolve. And so that's why I decided that, yes, I had to kill off that first version of the retreat, because it was very much rooted in a previous version of me, previous ideas, previous iterations and learnings and teachings that I'm evolving through. I'm very much trying to follow my own internal wisdom more and follow my truth more and coach people from that place, as opposed to coaching them specifically from stuff I've learned externally. I really want to coach also from a place of what I've learned internally as well. And so I was only able to really realize this upon canceling that first iteration. I had to release that one in order to understand all of this. Truly, I had to really give myself time and space after having released the first version to understand that yeah, I'm a different person than I was last year when I sold this retreat. I'm a different coach. I'm focusing on different aspects of the human experience. I'm focusing more on identity and life enjoyment and fulfillment and less on strategy. Okay. So my coaching has evolved. So, of course, I want the retreats to evolve as well because I'm going to be with people in person in the version that I am now. So, the retreat has no choice but to evolve with me. So, I had to kill off that first version because it was no longer in full alignment, which is a really hard thing to kind of process and understand. So, after giving myself some time to process and coming back to my clients and starting to have conversations with them about what was happening, actually, before then, I started to feel the pull to try again, to quote unquote salvage, but also like I'd rather use the word rebirth this retreat, kind of like reimagine it, right? So I killed off the first version that was no longer in full alignment, and it was time to rebirth a new version. And I didn't know how long the gap time between those two things was going to be. It ended up being about 2-ish weeks of being in that messy, processing, emotion-filled, stressful, sad, angry, all the things, all that time. And then I started to feel inklings of hope again. And like, you can do this, and there's still something to be done with CUNTY Retreat here. It's just going to look different than what you tried to do the first time. And so I started to look again at different venues and kind of reimagine what I wanted this retreat to be and what I wanted to deliver and what the transformation really was going to be, even though you can't know exactly what people's transformations are going to be from a retreat, but you can have a pretty solid idea. So I went through that process. And once I came back to the clients and shared that new vision with them, some people were not ready or able or felt able to continue on this path with me, to continue on this CUNTY Retreat journey with me at this time. And that was another like really, really hard thing, like really hard. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I don't even know how to explain this, but it is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my business. I'm still very much in it, having to, go against some of my own previously held policies and, change up how I'm being of service to these clients and focusing on repair and relationships. It's really, really hard when you've made certain mistakes and have like been a messy human. It is really hard when other people no longer want to continue on, right? And also, like, I'm sharing this again because this shit is hard and it's also very real. Like, this is a very real thing. Not every single client is going to be ready or able or happy to evolve with you or to follow along with you, especially if the process involves some ups and some downs and some messy bits and some tough bits. Like, not everyone is going to come with you. And this isn't just clients. This is family members. This is friends. This is anyone. And I hear this being talked about in the entrepreneurship community when it comes to friends, family, all that. And I haven't really heard it much in terms of clients. But I think it's really important to have this conversation because the last thing we want to do, I mean, I don't know, I don't speak for anyone else, but I had to make this decision of like, what is the energy I want in my business? I want people who are thrilled to be part of this process and this journey and part of this evolution. I want people who are thrilled to be getting the best version of me and the continual growth and evolution of me and my business. I'm committed to evolving as a human and as a business owner and as, everything. I'm just committed to constantly evolving. That's been the through line of my entire life. I don't stick with something just because. I literally change based on my intuition, based on my dreams and my desires and who I want to be as a person. And it's just constantly changing. I refuse to stay stagnant and stay static. But I know, I understand, I get it. The business world is very much like that. It's all about predictability. And, when I think about McDonald's, right? You know exactly what you're going to get, whether you're in Tokyo or whether you're in Chicago, you're going to know what a Big Mac is, and you're going to be able to order at that, and it's going to be the same. And it's been the same as 5 years ago, or 10 or 15, I think. I think they did upgrade it a bit, but you know what I mean. Especially as a young business, as a young person, as a small business, right? As a solopreneur, I am the business. And so people are going to feel it more when it's such a small business and when it's run by one person. Everyone is going to feel the evolution much more than if it was a massive company and change is very slow. It's very slow and it's very microscopic, if at all, right? Whereas in a small business, it can be more agile. It can be more quicker evolution. And I think that can be hard to go through, right? So I get it. And also, I found a new place, a new venue that inspired me, and I fell in love with it. I dove into the itinerary, and it's still very much the same. The experience is still very much the same, with just a couple of more details and a couple of little tweaks, things like that. But the CUNTY Retreat experience is still very much the same as what I had been dreaming up. So it's not that I was missing. What I had created in the first round, was it was very focused on external factors. It was very focused on the venue. It was very focused on guest speakers. It was focused on everything outside of me and my coaching, because I didn't have enough confidence in myself and my coaching at that time. Since then, I've learned so much, and I truly know so much more about what CUNTY is, how I can support people, all of these things, that now, looking at my retreat and the itinerary and everything, I'm realizing that it's not about the external factors. I have everything I need already in order to deliver this incredible CUNTY experience. And so that's what's important, is this CUNTY experience on retreat that I'm going to deliver, and I'm so excited to deliver. In fact, now it's even more of an authentic Portuguese experience. Whereas before it was not. It was more removed. It wasn't, the venue was more, the villa before was more fancy and modern, but not, it could have been anywhere. You didn't really know that you were in Portugal with that previous villa. Whereas this new villa, there are more authentic Portuguese touches and feelings, and it's in a town where there is a castle that is over 1,000 years old, back from the Moorish occupation times. And honestly, the Algarve, that is the history of Algarve. The Moorish occupation was primarily, very majorly, in the Algarve region in the south of Portugal. So yes, I want my clients to have a more authentic and immersive experience in the place, right? And I want to run activities and workshops that are more embedded in the place as opposed to sourced externally, right? These are really important things that I would have never really truly had space to understand if I hadn't canceled that first iteration. So this is a huge reason why I'm sharing all this with you today, is that releasing things that no longer serve you might feel like death. Like literally, it feels like death. It feels awful. It feels hard. It can, right? I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe for you, it's just like, oh, thank God, I can just release that thing. Great, done, moving on. But it can also feel like death. And my dear friend Sunny, who was helping me process this whole thing, really did share a lot of the similarities of death. They had a family member die, and so they have a really good understanding of things that happen with death and with grief. And so they were really coaching me through and helping me understand that a lot of how I was feeling was directly linked to grief and feelings of death. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. Like, running a business is not taken lightly. It's not a joke. It is really serious. And like, I've been planning this retreat for like over 9 months. So that is a whole fucking pregnancy that I've been carrying this retreat. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. But what's being born instead of the old version is something that is so incredibly even more beautiful. And it's also more beautiful because it is born out of courage and pure cuntiness of evolving and allowing yourself to evolve and be imperfect and be courageous, unapologetic, notable, transcendent, and you authentically. Like, there is nothing more cunty than failing and getting back up and deciding what your next step is, whether it's to totally scrap something and try again another time, or whether it's like, man, I was so close. I just had some of these main things off, right? So like now I'm really realizing, like, it's not about the venue. It's not about the external things. It is 100% about what you already have available to you and what you already know and love and have internally. It's not so much about the external things. And that's my opinion, right? And that's what I want to impart on my clients. And I want clients to come with me on this who are also on the same page with that. And so if you are listening to this and you are interested in knowing more about what the CUNTY experience on retreat is going to look like in Portugal in June of this year, I know it's already May, so time is of the essence, but please send me a message, email, DM, anything, and I'd be so thrilled to get on a call with you and to see if this is the right fit, right? This isn't just for anybody. This is for an entrepreneur or artist or creator or visionary or dreamer of some kind who has big dreams ahead for themselves and also who want to pour into themselves and really learn what they're made of and who they truly are and give themselves the space to explore and be free and liberated in a new place, in a place that is so liberatory. Portugal is so beautiful and so free. I feel so free. And I want to share that with you, and I want to support you in your own journey through a retreat. I think it's an incredible way of having major transformation in a pretty short time. And so it's a week, it's 6 nights in the south of Portugal. And I'm going to also include a pre-retreat coaching call in order to be most prepared and ready, and then also a post-retreat integration coaching call as well, so that when you come back, you feel integrated and kind of knowing how you're going to best move forward with a plan, in addition to coaching on retreat. So it's going to be this beautiful process. So let me know if you're interested in learning more about it. I would love to talk to you and learn to see if it's a good fit. It's going to be a pretty small group, pretty intimate, which I'm really excited about. That's another thing that I learned, was the first iteration was based on a much larger group that for my first retreat just did not make sense. Just didn't make sense. So I will be sharing all the learnings with you as I move through this process, because again, hindsight is 2020 and we need to go through it to learn it. And I'm such a proponent of that. Like this has been my life experience, is that I am the type of person who needs to learn by doing. I can't learn other ways. It's just so incredibly difficult to know all of what's going to happen unless you actually go through it. Like I had to actually start a business in Portugal to learn all of the details and the ins and outs and intricacies and costs and procedures of running a business in Portugal. Okay? So like it's not fun necessarily. It's hard, but it's incredibly cunty, and it's the life that I want to live. I want to live a life well lived, that I did things and I tried things and I put myself out there and I went for it and I tried, right? And so I'm just going to keep trying. And if you are interested in that for your life, to just keep trying and not give up, and even when you have to, cancel something or kill something off or quote unquote give up, it's a small scale giving up, because what's the bigger picture is so much bigger than this one failure, this one moment in time that feels like everything is going to end. I want to reassure you that it is not going to end because of one failure or, this one thing that's not going right. Your life is so much bigger than that. Your purpose here on this earth is so much bigger than that. And these are things that I had to affirm and have support from my dear community to remind me that the CUNTY movement is so much bigger than this failure. And it's going to be better off because of these failures. And I am so proud of myself for continuing to get up. And no matter how depressed I feel that day, or anxious or stressed, get up and get in tune with myself and my heart and my soul and see what it truly wants, and to go after that, even if it's imperfect, even if I don't have all the answers, just to continue pursuing my highest truth. And that's what I will always advocate for you as well. Because I know that I have a potential client out there. Maybe you're listening right now and you're saying, but I couldn't possibly. Yes, you can. You can follow your highest truth and not know all of the answers or how that's all going to go. And I will help you through it. You will get through it and you will feel amazing day after day, because at the core, you know that you're following your dreams and your hopes and your desires and your truth, and you're seeking more and more of that truth every single day. And that is a life well lived. It's much more important than avoiding any and all failures, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. So I'm going to end this episode here, but I will be back next week with more on this or something totally different. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Again, I'm really taking you through this journey as it's happening. So I want you to know that I don't record my podcasts months in advance, because I keep evolving and I keep changing. Funny story, I did record an episode a couple weeks ago and I didn't release it because I knew that, that wasn't the end of my story, even though in that episode that I recorded, I made it seem like it was the end, because in my mind, it felt like the end. And then sure enough, a little while later, I had that inspiration to really reimagine CUNTY Retreat. So there you go, right? I am a constantly evolving being, and my business is constantly evolving. And this is what I wanted to impart with you today. And the reason why I mentioned trust and faith and abundance in the beginning was because in order to allow yourself to evolve and to allow your business to evolve, you have to also have trust and faith that it is in your highest interest to do so, that it's going to work out in the grand scheme of things, right? Even if it doesn't work out today or tomorrow or next week, in the grand scheme of things, it is working out in your highest good to evolve and to move forward and to continue iterating and failing and getting back up, failing and getting back up. That is in your very best interest, but you have to learn to trust. It's like a trust fall, right? You have to temporarily release control and surrender and then be caught, in this case, by the universe or by whatever it is you believe in. It's there to catch you. Even if right now it feels like you're alone in this, or you're never going to get out of this, or it's going to wreck you. Like, I'm going into quite a bit of debt right now in order to make this all work. But debt is a tool, and it's a tool that I'm deciding to leverage in order to continue to evolve and to continue to prioritize the things that I want to prioritize, like relationships and community and repair and experience, all of these things. And it's all learning. It's all learning. And the abundance is here if you allow it to be. Okay. It is all around us all the time. And it's within you all the time. If you think about how many breaths you take in a day constantly, or how many heartbeats your heart beats in a day without you even thinking about it, I always come back to those things that are so infinitely abundant. What about the trillions of cells that are in your body, right? Like, you are existing because of that abundance of life within you. It's not constant competition or scarcity from your cells. It's abundance. It's incredible what can happen and what can be created when there's this abundance of life force, and just everything is working for your highest good. So can you believe that? No matter what the outside world is saying, no matter what upset clients are saying, or colleagues, or family members, or friends, like, no matter what people are saying around you, or however they're feeling, because everyone's entitled to their own emotions, can you believe that you are abundant as fuck? And that you have the answers within you, and that you need to tap into you and believe and trust and have faith in you and what you're here to do on this earth? Can you trust it? Can you trust your vision? Can you trust in your ability to create transformations for people? That's huge, right? Always coming back to that belief, having that belief within you that you can seriously help people and help them change their lives. All right. I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This was straight from my heart, and I hope you know that I'm always going to keep it real with you on the podcast. This is the CUNTY Realness podcast, and this is where we have these kinds of conversations. When I have guests on, I always ask them a time in their life or business that they had to be really cunty in order to get through something or move in the direction of their highest dreams or truth or purpose. And it's often really tough. It was really tough in the moment for them to go through that thing, but it had to be done in order to be the person that they are today, where they are today. And I'm in this kind of moment right now. And so what better way to coach than to share what I'm going through, and to share that the learnings and the growth that's happening as a result, and the things that I'm learning and the things that are happening. It's a gift to be able to share based on our own failures and learnings in order to support other people and help them on their path. So if you're listening, thank you so much. And I hope this was supportive for you. And if it's what you needed to hear today, please always feel free to DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, or email me. Just let me know that you're listening, and let me know that it's a podcast that you love listening to. I appreciate your love notes so much, and your reviews on Apple Podcasts. They mean the world. And I look forward to keep supporting you on this podcast week after week. I love you so much. Have a great week, and stay cunty, my friends. Thank you so much for listening to CUNTY Life and Biz Realness today. Someone in your circle needs to hear this. Can you share it and leave a review on Apple Podcasts so this CUNTY movement can grow? And don't forget to tag me on Instagram at Naomi_authentically. I appreciate you so much and cannot wait to connect with you. You can always head over to cuntycoaching.com to work with me, join my events, my CUNTY email chronicles, and more. I hope you have a fulfilling week, and I can't wait to talk to you next week. This is your CUNTY coach, Naomi, signing off.